Brigadier General Anderson, Sergeant Major Capel, Brigade, Battalion Commanders, friends of One Fury and the Blue Devils, thank you for coming to today's ceremony. 2 years ago, I stepped on this field and I knew I was becoming part of something very special. And while today is a great day of sadness for me, I have also must consider myself so terribly blessed to have spent the last 2 years with fighting units with the greatest group of warriors and patriots I have ever known. I saw this battalion trained to a nice edge of readiness, get off ramp from OEF, sent to West Point to train cadets instead, and then saw that same battalion 3 weeks after returning from the academy, after a summer of giving land navigation classes, running a bayonet course, painting rocks and filling sandbags, deploy as the DRF-8 to combat in Iraq. There I saw this battalion became known as the battalion that would go where other units would not go, do what other units would not do. General Casey, commander of all forces in Iraq, individually recognized the Blue Devils, these troopers, for setting the example of how to fight the insurgency. I saw the enemy refer to this battalion as special. Quote, "They aren't Marines, these are crack troops. You can't get close to them. They are everywhere. They really have us by the balls here. They are merciless." I remember the Blue Devils blowing down the doors of a house that contained a number of insurgents that we knew had killed Marines. With them were found weapons, IED material, and some personal effects of the young deceased Marines, to include a laminated picture of a blonde-haired, blue-eyed boy. I'm not sure whether or not the child who lost his father will ever know that it was the Blue Devils that were able to exact some justice for him, for his family, and for the Marine Corps. But I know. And being associated with these great troops and what they did that night is one of the proudest points of my 19 years of service. Only a very, very special organization full of remarkable people can accomplish what the Blue Devils did. People like the troopers of 5th Platoon Delta Company, who, after a bomb destroyed Delta 5-3, killing Sergeant Large, Specialist Vanderbosch, and Private Baez, and critically wounded Staff Sergeant Jones, who, despite the danger of ordnance exploding on a burning vehicle, braved the flames to evacuate their injured brothers, and even after evacuating the wounded and witnessing this horrific event, crossed the desert that had just taken 3 of their own, and continued undeterred to get in position to block the escape of the enemy. That's what paratroopers do. Troopers like Marian Nedelchev, a Bulgarian citizen. Nedelchev was shot 15 October in a firefight in Haklania. He refused evacuation until finally forced. Attempted to escape the hospital to rejoin the unit near Haklania. His first mission back with Charlie Company near Ramadi, he was hit again with IED shrapnel in an ambush. While being evacuated, Ned was in tears, not because of the pain, but because he felt he was letting his platoon down by getting injured again. We are blessed to have such men. Troopers like Sergeant First Class Abbott, our mess sergeant, who did so well in making the West Point Mess Hall a place where troopers wanted to eat. But a paratrooper first. He was the NCOI Save a Relief convoy that carrying ammunition, medical supplies, and water into the fight in Haklania the next morning. As they gathered around for a mission brief, heads were hanging low as the reality of the dead and the wounded cast their shadow on what they were about to do. Sergeant First Class Abbott stepped forward and said, "You all need to get your heads out of your ass and get focused, because your time to mourn is not today. We have a job to do, and our Blue Devils are depending on us, and we are not going to let them down." They may have been cooks and clerks when they stood in that formation, but as they rolled up MSR Bronze and into the fight that morning, they were all Blue Devils. I have to ask myself, where do we get such men? When I returned from Iraq and I saw the relieved but proud faces of great loving parents, that gave me a clue. But it all came together with my conversation with Larry Large, father of Sergeant Brian Large, killed in action. Once we redeployed back to El Asad, I got a chance to call him myself. He asked me some questions about the incident that killed his son. Questions that were tough to answer. Questions I can't imagine how hard and gut-wrenching they were to even ask. And when we finished talking, and when we answered his questions, after he told me that Brian died doing what he loved, after he told me that Brian was everything he could ever want in a son, he said, "Lieutenant Colonel Swift, I want to thank you for what you're doing. I want to thank you for your sacrifice." I was stunned. Here is a man who knows more about loss than any man should ever have to. And here he is thanking me for my sacrifice. I remember throwing on my PT shoes, strapping on my PT belt, and running the long way around the El Asad airfield. And with tears running down my face, I remember saying to myself, that is where these great men come from. One other great Blue Devil, my friend, my mentor, and the man I was so proud to call my Sergeant Major, Sergeant Major Myers. This was never my command. This was always our command. We are all greatly indebted to you. Best of luck. Lieutenant Colonel Menace, Brian, good luck and God bless you as you prepare one Fury to go back to war. Blue Devils, I thank you for letting me be the hood ornament on this great machine. A short time from now, when I'm standing on my front lawn, someone is going to say to me, Larry, what did you do in the Army? I'm going to smile through my goatee. I'm going to scratch my big fat belly, and I'm going to say, I served with America's Guard of Honor. I served with America's finest men, America's greatest warriors and most selfless patriots. I was a United States Army paratrooper. I was a Blue Devil. All the way, airborne, Fury from the sky.